Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. The vast, arid landscape of Blind Frog Ranch, nestled deep within the rugged terrain of the American Southwest, is a place where the desert wind whispers secrets to those who dare to listen. The sun beats relentlessly upon the cracked earth, painting shadows across forgotten relics scattered across the dusty expanse. What appears to be an ordinary stretch of land holds a puzzle unlike any other, one steeped in mystery, danger, and a strange glow that hints at a hidden truth beneath the surface. The Discovery Channel's investigation into Blind Frog Ranch reveals an enigma that transcends time and science, a secret coded in the language of radioactivity. The story begins with the unassuming discovery of a series of unusual artifacts on the ranch's property. These objects, partially buried and corroded by decades of exposure, hinted at human presence far earlier than anyone anticipated. Amongst these were fragments of metal, shards of glass, and strange containers bearing markings long forgotten by modern memory. The relics were weathered, yet their composition suggested something far more intriguing than mere antiquities. Traces of radioactive material nestled within the debris, invisible to the naked eye, but impossible to ignore under scientific scrutiny. Blind Frog Ranch had always been a place of curiosity, a site peppered with tales of strange phenomena and unexplained happenings. Yet nothing had prepared anyone for the implications of this radioactive clue. The mere mention of radioactivity conjures images of nuclear power, contamination, and danger, but here, in the middle of a remote desert, it suggested a hidden chapter of history, one where the boundaries of science, secrecy, and survival intertwined. The initial clues were subtle, discovered through routine geological surveys commissioned to assess the land for potential development. Radiation detectors, standard tools in any environmental assessment, picked up unusual spikes in background levels. The elevated readings were localized to specific coordinates, around clusters of metallic debris. This was no natural anomaly. Natural radioactive deposits do exist in certain mineral-rich areas, but the pattern here suggested human intervention, a deliberate presence of radioactive material, buried or discarded for reasons unknown. Intriguingly, the levels were high enough to trigger caution, but not so extreme as to render the area immediately hazardous. This detail added layers to the mystery. If the radioactive material was hazardous enough to be detected, but not to cause instant alarm, then its purpose, origin, and age became critical questions demanding answers. Archaeologists and physicists were brought in to investigate. The team's first task was to determine the nature of the radioactive material. Was it uranium, thorium, radium, or something else entirely? Samples taken from the site were meticulously analyzed in laboratories, revealing the presence of radium isotopes that have a half-life indicating they had been there for several decades. The presence of radium, a radioactive element widely used in early 20th century luminescent paints and scientific equipment, pointed to a connection with historical technology and possibly clandestine activity. Historical research uncovered references to clandestine experiments and Cold War-era projects conducted in remote locations across the American West. These projects often involved testing radioactive substances, sometimes under the guise of scientific progress, other times under the shadows of military secrecy. Could Blind Frog Ranch have been one such site? The evidence hinted that the ranch had played a covert role in an era when the nation's interest in atomic energy was at its peak. The mystery deepened with the discovery of a buried vault, uncovered during a meticulous, round-penetrating radar scan of the area with elevated radiation readings. The vault was constructed of reinforced concrete and steel, materials chosen for their shielding properties against radiation. Inside were fragments of equipment, including tubes and dials coated with a faintly glowing residue, consistent with radium-laced paint. The artifacts suggested an abandoned laboratory or a secret storage site for radioactive materials. The precise purpose of this vault remained unclear, but the positioning and construction implied careful planning and an understanding of the risks associated with radioactivity. This was no casual dump site, but a location chosen with awareness of containment and concealment. The presence of a vault in such a remote area suggested urgency and secrecy, hallmarks of government or private research projects tied to national security. The story took on an almost mythic quality as investigators pieced together archival records, which revealed that Blind Frog Ranch had been leased by a shadowy 1950s. The agency had been tasked with experimenting on new forms of luminescent technology, likely related to military instrumentation. This discovery linked the radioactive traces to a forgotten chapter in atomic history, one where scientific ambition and secrecy combined to leave an indelible mark on the landscape. But the investigation was not without risks. The radioactivity, while not acutely dangerous, posed a chronic threat to the environment and anyone who lingered too long in the contaminated zones. Careful protocols were established to protect the team, turning the site into a delicate archaeological excavation mingled with hazardous material management. The ranch itself seemed to guard its secrets jealously. Strange phenomena reported by locals, such as unexplained lights and eerie hums at night, added to the eerie atmosphere. Could these be residual effects of lingering radioactivity, or merely tricks of the desert imagination? Either way, the mystery extended beyond scientific analysis into the realm of the unknown, where the lines between fact and folklore blurred. The clues unearthed at Blind Frog Ranch illuminated a broader narrative, one about how humanity's reach into the atomic age left hidden footprints across the landscape. These radioactive relics served as silent witnesses to an era when knowledge was both a weapon and a beacon, when secrecy shaped the frontiers of science, and when the desert bore witness to experiments that changed the course of history. The tale of Blind Frog Ranch is not just about radioactive material buried in the sand. It is about discovery, the thrill and danger of uncovering what was meant to remain hidden. It is about the interplay between nature and human ambition, the cost of progress, and the enduring mystery that radioactive clues leave behind. In the end, the investigation at Blind Frog Ranch stands as a testament to the relentless quest for truth, no matter how deeply buried or how perilous the path. The radioactive legacy uncovered their calls to mind the fragility of the earth beneath our feet, the shadows of the past we carry forward, and the unresolved enigmas that still pulse quietly beneath the desert's surface. In the sprawling desert wilderness of southwestern Utah, where the arid winds carve the landscape into jagged cliffs and expansive canyons, lies Blind Frog Ranch, a place cloaked in mystery and isolation. The ranch itself, modest and weather-beaten, sits quietly amid the sun-baked earth, its wooden structures fading into the landscape as if reluctant to reveal their secrets. Yet beneath this serene exterior, a story was waiting to be unearthed, one that would turn out to be far more perplexing and dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The first indications came not from tales or legend, but from the subtle readings of instruments designed to detect the invisible. Environmental scientists surveying the area noticed something peculiar: faint but consistent anomalies in radiation levels concentrated around certain spots on the property. These readings did not match typical natural background radiation found in the region. Instead, they hinted at the presence of materials that were out of place, something man-made, something radioactive, and something that should have been hidden long ago. This unexpected clue triggered a deeper investigation, turning the ranch from a quiet patch of desert into a nexus of scientific intrigue. The search for answers led through a labyrinth of historical records, physical artifacts, and strange phenomena that blurred the boundaries between the known and the unknown. Initial physical exploration uncovered scattered fragments, rusted metal parts, glass tubes cracked and yellowed with age, and remnants of containers whose labels had long since faded. These items were discovered buried shallowly in the sandy soil or concealed beneath layers of sediment deposited by centuries of erosion. They bore markings that suggested a link to early 20th century industrial or scientific equipment. But the radioactive element introduced a dangerous twist that shifted the investigation from archaeological curiosity to a serious scientific inquiry.